In that case, I'm going to push the button. Come in, Paul Kennel.
Hola. Nice shirt.
Oh, this is good. This is good. It's still Halloween here, too, which is awesome. All right. Yeah, we got that dialed up. This is going to be great. All right, fantastic. All right. Here we go. Put all my garbage away here. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Late Night Playset. My name is Jay Ryan. Thank you so much for dialing us up this evening. I don't know where to start, so I'm going to say, I'm going to ask you, did anything new happen? Is anything going on in the world that I've missed in the past week or so? That's some kind of crazy, sad sarcasm. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, and that's one of the reasons why everything's a little bit different. Everything's a little bit different, and I'm not sure where to start. You might notice that it's Tuesday, and we're not here with our buddy Tory. We'll start with that. Our buddy Tory happens to be located in a part of the world that is very, very on the map right now. He's in basically right outside of Pittsburgh. He's in, I believe, in Allegheny County, which is where all the counting and the political issues are stemming, certainly at the moment in the state of Pennsylvania in regards to this political election that is going on. Our buddy Tory is really feeling the stress of the world and everything else that's going on over there. And he's going to take a little break. He's going to take a little break, not just from the show, but from probably social media as well. He's going to delete some accounts and a lot of other things. I don't want to tell you his business, but he apparently doesn't like what he sees out there, and he's going to take a little break. And I have nothing but respect for that. I've done it myself. I totally get it. So we love you, buddy. There won't be a Tuesdays with Tory for a while, maybe ever, but certainly for a while. And that's a bummer for me. But we are now interviewing hosts. Maybe if you want to be the next co-host for Tuesdays, we're looking for somebody. Maybe our guest today could fill that role. I know he's going to do it today because he came in and pinched hit for us. It is Paul Kramer from the Autokennels, and I said that properly on purpose. Hi, Paul Kramer.
Hola. Hola.
Hi, buddy.
Good job.
Thank you so much for
my
coming
name
and, like I said, pinch hitting for us, but also just for being my buddy and being a great guest via satellite for the first time.
Sure. Absolutely.
You've got a whole setup over there. You got your backlight going, and you got your
No, this is
earbuds.
just our living room.
Is it really? Well, it's set up well.
Yeah. Perfect.
We're both wearing our Autokennel attire because I am showing support by my friend who's supporting me. So we'll get to Paul Kramer in just a couple minutes. Before then, I told you about Tory and how we hope to see him real soon, although I don't think it'll be till late January at the soonest. And by the way, all of that was... He had so much more respect for the show. He was worried about his political views influencing or de-influencing, whatever, becoming a problem here. And I kept trying to tell him that I didn't believe that would be the case, and that I believed that if this is something he was feeling strongly about, that it's something he should share with people, and that people would probably understand what he was going through. And I don't know. I just didn't think it would be as much of a problem as he did. But again, his intentions were so well motivated for not being here, even though we all wanted him to be. So with that, we noticed, you might have noticed we weren't here last week. There was the election, and there was Tory who didn't really want to talk about it. And then also I was busy back down at Smoking Tire. We did some more studio stuff. Now that Matt and Zach are in the space and they've lived with it for a couple months, and I've been able to kind of watch their show on television and make a couple notes of things that I would change, both from how they were doing things and then from my own design originally. So we added some more lights and we changed a couple things at the set, just minimal things that I don't think anybody else would ever notice. But so we were down there last week. And that's what was going on. So love to Matt, Zach. Hope you like the new stuff. And I believe those shows should start rolling out soon. However, Smoking Tire is putting out some killer stuff lately. He and Zach just did a whole podcast in the G-Wagon, the new Mercedes G-Wagon. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but the idea of the podcast off-roading in the G-Wagon is pretty cool to me. So check that out. All right. Two more things to do before we get Paul Kennel in here. Viewer mail and East Coast feed. Technically kitty cam too, but that's only if she wants to come out, and that we'll see what happens on that. But another thing that happened while we were away was Kitty did go and get a haircut. We did end up deciding to put her. If you're a keen viewer of the show, you know that we have a 20-year-old kitty cat named Meow Meow who is the sweetest thing in the world, and she just loves her dad so much and just wants to be with me all the time. But she's a half Maine Coon, half Norwegian forest cat. So she's large, and she's got ferociously long hair. I mean, she looks like a wild animal. And at 20, that's hard to keep clean. So she needs a little bit of help, and she is ferocious like a wild animal when she goes to the vet. So they have to knock her out, like really with a syringe, like knock her out. And it's a whole process. And at 20, they sometimes they don't wake up. So so I was nervous about it. I was really nervous about it. But we ended up doing it. It just got bad enough that I decided that it was for her comfort, it was worth the chance. She just was so uncomfortable. So we did. And we have an adorable kitty cat who doesn't look very ferocious anymore. So I hope she comes out, and I hope you get to see that as well. In the meantime, a very cool package arrived the other day. I haven't opened it, but the guy sent a message, so I know what it is. And this is just something really cool. Oh, I should have pre-opened it a little further. All right. Let's see what happens here. All right. And it is still Halloween. Gotta clean up around here. All right. Let's see. This obviously is for the missus, but this is a beautiful bag. And the company here is Spirit of Le Mans, as in like Spirit of St. Louis, Spirit of Le Mans. And there's underscores between all of that on the social media. But they do this beautiful tartan. Look at this. He sent me a message. He goes, "Are you and the Mrs. Scarf wearers?" It's like a lot. We really, really are. So here we go. Got some new scarves, and the missus got a new bag. I'm gonna strap in here and hold it. She doesn't carry bags as much anymore, but this is the kind that she could carry. Not a whole lot of hoopla to it. Just throw your shit in there. So that is super awesome. Thank you so much, Spirit of Le Mans. Super, super cool. Good stuff. It's a little chilly. All right, so there's that. And is that it? Is there anything else I have to do? Tory usually keeps me on track with this stuff. Is that it? Oh, East Coast feed. All right, yeah. Real quick, let's check in with Danbury Chive and the East Coast feed. I believe it's Kazman and the little monkey today, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Roll it out.
East Coast feed.
East Coast feed, Uncle Jay. We just wanted to say hi. So what are we doing today, monkey?
We're watching Batman.
Watching Batman. And what did you make this morning, Coraline?
Banana bread.
Coraline made banana bread. Yeah, she's good at it now. We do a great job, right? We put it in the crock pot. And what do we put on top of the banana bread, Mama?
Chocolate chip.
Oh, chocolate chips. I know you got to sample some chocolate chips every time, right? You having a good day so far?
Mm-hmm.
This is our Monday because you know what? Sometimes daddy duty comes in full swing. Right, monkey?
Mm-hmm.
Say goodbye, Uncle Jay.
Bye.
Love you guys.
I love you right on back, buddy. Oh, the East Coast feed. That little kid is just adorable. All right. Paul Kennel, you ready?
Yeah.
You want a scarf?
No, I'm good.
Send you a digital scarf. All right. Let's see. You know our next guest, both from this show and from all of every car show that's in Los Angeles, every car rally that's in and around. You've definitely recognized his La Tortuga car, the green 911 with the off-road full rally package, including Christmas tree and snowshoes and everything else on the top. It is Paul Kramer from the Autokennels. Hi, buddy. What's happening?
Howdy. Hey, Jay.
Thank you for being here, my friend.
Good.
I really appreciate it, especially being that I called you, I don't know, less than 2 hours before the show.
No, that's fine. I'm happy to do it. I had already left the shop and I was headed back to my house, so I'm not at the shop right now.
Yeah. Well, wait a second. Did you change the color of the lighting Even just a minute ago?
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, hold
Well,
on a
you
sec.
weren't serious about your background. I thought you were trying to like when you said I'm working on my background. I thought that's why I sent you that picture. I thought you meant like a digital. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can do all different colors. So
There's a party going on at the Castle of Crits.
yeah.
Bring all your friends as long as they are chicks. Do you, do you remember that?
Nice. No, I
Oh,
don't.
well, I probably should explain it then. It was Seth Rogen in a commercial for one of his movies, that the one that didn't do so well.
No,
What's happening, man? Tell me
no,
about Auto-Kennel. Tell me about how things have been with you since COVID. I feel like, ironically, I've seen you more, and I'm not, and I think that's wonderful.
no. I think the biggest part is Fridays. I can go up to Newcomb's more often. My dad isn't coming in as much as he used to. He comes in Friday mornings, and he's really been good about sheltering in place with my mom.
Hmm.
So Friday mornings, I come up, see you guys, hang out. I get to drive. I get to test drive more cars on longer drives. He comes to the shop, catches up on work, and it's sort of good for everyone. He's anxious to go on drives. I've tried to get him to come up to Newcomb's and drive in his car, but he's a little more on the nervous side.
Would he come up and leave quickly? I mean, like have a donut and a cup of coffee from afar and then skedaddle?
I think he would do it. I think the biggest part is my mom. She gives him a
Oh,
lot of
sure.
guilt.
Oh well,
So,
yeah,
I
none of
mean,
us
I
want the
think the
guilt.
only, yeah, I think the only drive he's really done is because he was watching me just go on drives and, doing stuff of my own. And for Father's Day, my daughter and I did a gift certificate. We let him on like a little 1 day rally with lunch. And he was in his own car. Laura and I were in our
Aw.
car, and we just did a local drive.
Well, that's super sweet, but that was back in June, right?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
So
I keep trying to get him to come out.
I'm just thinking it's summer,
Yeah,
and I mean now we're into fall, and it's almost winter. For goodness sake, it is winter, isn't it?
I
Maybe
know.
about.
Yeah, and I posted a picture today, and someone asked me, "Well, how many miles have I driven on the Green 911, the Tortuga, in a year?" So I went back exactly a year, and it's a little over 11,000 miles. Um,
Just on that one
you
car.
know, just on that one car. That's not any other car, just that one car. Yeah, and that's without any. I think I canceled 6 rallies, and one of them was going to be driving across country this year.
To Luftgekühlt?
For Lufkakult. We were gonna, yeah, yeah, we were gonna go. Yeah, it was twice. It was supposed to be in the fall or in the spring, and then the fall, and we ended up obviously canceling that. But that would have been, I think, what is that, about 4,000 miles? How many miles is it across country, North Carolina? Four
I,
thousand miles.
I mean it's three usually each way, but I mean that's so six total. I mean it might be
No, we were only
2,500
going to go
maybe
one way.
only for to a certain area, but I think from here to East Coast I think is damn near 3,000 miles.
Yeah, we were only going to go just there and then ship the car back. I, I
Oh, I see.
I think I would be good not doing round trip. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
after the whole party, that's a long ride. That's a long ride back.
yeah,
Like Vegas is one thing.
absolutely. Yeah, you don't feel like getting, yeah, delay.
Yeah, we did
Are
get a
you a
little delay
little
there.
off?
Sorry about that. I'm going to close the live feed. Sometimes that slows it down when I go check in to see if anybody's watching.
Yeah. Um,
Got a little
but
warm in here
anyway,
too.
so I haven't done as much formal driving as I normally would do. I'm doing more just going up to see you guys at Newcomb's, driving. I did that kind of 1 week own rally, solo rally.
How was that though? That was so cool. Can you tell us like how that came to be and what it was? The photos were amazing.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was the Driving While Awesome guys up in Santa Cruz. I normally would do at least 2 or 3 rallies with them a year. I think they were just getting anxious. So they did these 2 1 day rallies. They were a Thursday of 1 week and a Thursday of the following week. I think the first one started in Napa, and then the following Thursday started in South Bay, San Francisco. And I had some friends up there I hadn't seen and some clients. And I thought, well, I'll go see them on the weekend. And I just basically made my own rally out of the whole event for a week. I went, so after the 1 day rally, I went and hung out with friends in Santa Cruz. And then there was, I did a drive on Friday through kind of the Bay Area. And then there was a car show on Sunday.
But how did it all work? Because, rallies typically are, okay, we meet at one point at a hotel or some sort of point, and then we all kind of go on a rally.
Right.
This was fundamentally not like that, right? Because of COVID?
No, they called it rallying from home. So the idea was you leave from your house. We met at a parking lot in Napa.
That's what you were explaining.
The day before they gave you, they gave you the day before maps online. You did all your release online. So there was no contact. They had set out bags along a wall, and you just grabbed your bag. It had a rally map, but you could load everything ahead of time, do release at time. So the idea was that we were in a getting coffee. There was no line. We weren't standing around meeting. They actually did a driver's meeting on YouTube, and we just watched it the day before. And then what we ended up doing is we did the drive. We got to a place for lunch. It was like a town, and everyone just went, and there was like a list of 20 restaurants, and everyone just got their own food. And there was a big park in the middle of town, and with park benches, and we just ate, or people brought, fold up chairs. And then at the end of the rally, I think we met at an In-N-Out, but really it wasn't as good as normal rallies in the sense that there was no formal gathering at the end. There was no hangout. It was just sort of everyone dispersed. But then I just made my own rally up another week until the following one, which was, the following Thursday. And I think that whole trip was 3,500 miles round trip to door.
In how long? A little over a week?
A week. I left a Wednesday, and I got back home the following Thursday night. So
that's just over a week. That is a lot of driving.
Yeah, and it was. What was nice was basically the Monday through Wednesday, I just did a solo rally. I looked at maps of where I wanted to go, and I went all the way almost to the Oregon border. And I would just get up in the morning. I'd have a 250 miles to 350 miles, depending on how far I wanted to go. And I would just start driving. And
with a hotel or an Airbnb or something already booked for that night? Or were you just kind of winging it?
So I knew generally where I wanted to get to. And I wouldn't book a hotel till I got to around lunchtime, figuring that, okay, I'm almost there. And I didn't want to book it and then break down and not be able to get to the hotel. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. You make your reservation and then 30 miles shy. Yeah.
But I got to drive on Lost Coast, which I've always wanted to see. And then a lot of dirt roads, as you can imagine. So roads that wouldn't normally be on a rally because a lot of people don't want to go on the dirt roads. But when you do, I don't like to go hardcore off-roading, but when you take like a fire trail, it's amazing to the places you can go. Try the poor Darren on a.
Well, I'm laughing because I know one of the stories we'll probably get to in a couple minutes. But yeah, Mister, I don't know if I think you do off-road. I think you off-road a bit.
I do like to. I think what's fun about the dirt is it's not. I mean, it is fun to drive in dirt and slide around, but you get to places where there really is no one around, and you could go pretty far with an old 911 in fire. And if you look at the maps in Southern California, there's a considerable number of fire roads all over our mountains. Like even when I saw you guys last Friday, there was a fire road I wanted to try out, and I only went like 5 miles down it, and then I kind of chickened out because I didn't want to brake.
Again, he got pretty deep, folks. If go to the Instagram, I'll pull it up in a second here on the Autokennel Instagram. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah,
You look
it
like
was
you're on
fun.
the edge of the world.
It
That's what it
was.
looks
It was
like.
literally. It was like a narrow road, and it was just. It ended right there, and I just figured after I went for about 5 miles, I figured I should probably be with someone, just so in case something happened, they knew where I was.
Yeah.
So, but I
Gosh. Well,
about
I'm trying to
putting an
think. You know,
electric
you
winch
mentioned the
on the front
fire
of the
roads.
car.
Is there a map that explains where all those fire roads are? I mean, how do you have access to
Yeah,
them?
just Google Maps.
Is it really that simple? Because I know
Yeah,
that
I
Newcomb's
look
is
at
surrounded by fire and access roads. I mean, the
yeah.
whole
If you
crest
just
is.
go
There's all
to
sorts of government roads up there and tunnels and all sorts of things.
yeah, if you go to Google Maps and just go to satellite view
Yeah.
and you go down, and what's really cool now is if people go hiking on there and they take pictures and post it, it will geolocate it and
Oh.
put it on the fire trails. So I can see some of the roads where the Google, camera truck doesn't necessarily go, but people walk on it. And I can look at it from a
Right.
street view and go, okay, yeah, that looks doable. I think I could go, down that road for a bit.
That's
So
wild. It's kind of
yeah,
wild that
there's a
we've got the whole place is mapped now, like the world,
well,
the
it
Earth.
is, and what's neat about like you've gone out. How many times have you driven on Angelo's Crest? It's the same road. You almost memorize the same turns, and now to go on some of this dirt stuff, you basically see parts of Angelo's Crest you never saw before,
Definitely
which
perspectives
is
you've
the best
never
part.
gotten to see. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
Well, you've got the car
and
for it. I
some
mean, I know your car it's not a Carrera 4 or anything like that. And as far as I know, you haven't changed well, maybe you have. Have you done anything with your differential at all? Like, is your car as
no,
beefy as it looks, or is it solely just a 911 that is well engineered anyway?
it's no, it's a stock '86 Carrera, the underpinnings, stock 911, everything, suspension, brakes. In fact, when we redid the transmission, I intentionally didn't put a limited slip in because you have to do more with the suspension to you. If you put a limited slip on stock suspension, you'll get more understeer.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I just didn't feel like re-engineering the front suspension. And 95% of my driving is on paved road anyway. I'm not looking for the ultimate off-road vehicle because I don't want to compromise the driving I like to do.
Right. Go get a Safari for that.
Right. And I think the biggest thing was I just put skid plates on the bottom, and then
It's a
I
big thing.
raised. Yeah, it just gives you a peace of mind when you hear a crunch, you're not breaking something important, and it protects
And
the
you can get
steering
out of
rack,
there.
the
You're not leaking
gas.
oil all of
Yeah,
a sudden.
yeah, exactly. It protects the gas tank, the front control arms, everything on the rear of the engine. I mean, just pretty much everything that's important you don't want to hit. It's protected. And then we raised, with torsion bars, you can raise the suspension up. We literally stock shocks, stock torsion bars. We raised it as high as it would go without having to put camber plates and do some fancy suspension.
Changing
So
geometry, right.
yeah, and I messed with different tire size. I run a little more sidewall. I had a bigger sidewall tire when I had a couple incidents and crashed. And that was because it just didn't handle as well. I'm like, okay, I'm not using that sidewall again. I'm going down a series.
There was a time a long time ago where I feel like it had Dunlop on the side. I don't know that they were Dunlop tires.
It
Is
was
that
just no, it was the
it wasn't
same
those?
same
Okay.
tires. No, it was the same tires, and I just put those Dunlop stickers, but they were a pain in the ass. And in fact, the tires I normally get, which are basically minivan tires.
You
They
do the van tires
discontinued
too?
those.
You're one of those guys?
Oh yeah,
Nice. Okay.
the set of tires is I think for a set of tires through Tire Rack is under $250 for four,
Oh my god.
and they're
Well,
just
no
all
wonder you're just tearing
season
them up.
touring
I'd be
tires.
doing donuts all the time too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I go through a few sets a year, but those tires they just canceled. I have on order these BF Goodrich with white letter out that look like something from a like an '80s CJ Jeep, um,
And you know that's
and
my
they're
style.
back
You know I'm
ordered.
down with that. The Brady Bunch,
Yeah.
the Rally Wheel, I'm in.
Oh yeah. I'm waiting for those to come,
Matches the
but
CB.
I'm actually looking at making custom aluminum 16-inch wheels to look like steel wheels, just to get some weight off the wheels, and also make it so that I can get tires.
Oh, that's interesting. The size, but wasn't it when you put the Fuchs on that you were going to the track or something, and you put Fuchs on like a different tire package and wheel package, and you could feel the difference like
Oh,
immediately?
night and day, night and day. In fact, Friday, if I get to Breakfast Club, it'll be early and I won't stay long. Some clients and friends are having a track day at Willow Springs, and I'm going to take the roof rack off. I'm going to put those wheels, the Fuchs with our compound tires, drive up to Willow Springs, but stop at Newcomb's on the way, and then
Nice.
probably do just a half day out there and
That's cool. You
try it
did that
out.
once before. Do you change the ride height, or do you just leave it jacked up?
No, I just leave it jacked up. It looks ridiculous. It looks so bad. I think you saw it. It looked horrible.
Well,
Well, you'll
what it
see it
is the
maybe
wheels
Friday.
look tiny. It looks like Bigfoot
Yeah,
before they put the off-road tires on. It's still jacked up, but it's got
yeah,
the street
exactly.
wheels.
That's exactly what it looks like. I think I calculated the rolling diameter changes by 2.5 inches, which is huge.
So what does it say? You're rolling up there at like 106 miles an hour or something when you're doing 80 on the freeway?
Yeah, it's
That's a big
the cruise.
change.
When I try to hit the cruise control, it freaks out. It doesn't like it. So no cruise control.
Oh
But
my gosh. You're probably putting more miles on your car when you do
yes.
that too, right?
Oh, that's right. Smaller diameter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going
Yeah. I
around,
bet
going more
you my
revolutions.
odometer is going to go faster. Yeah. There's a tire calculator. I'll have to put it in there and see what the difference is going to be. But so that's going to be Friday, which will be fun to. I was actually planning. I bought that set up to do an event in April, and it got canceled or got relocated to Thunder Hill, which is in past Sacramento, and I wasn't going to
Yeah.
drive up that far for it. So
No. Oh, so you
I've been
never got.
anxious to go to the track.
Oh, but you did do one because I've seen photos of it. That Willow.
I No, I never took. All I did
Oh,
was
you only set
put
the
those
car up
on.
for it.
Yep, I set the car up. I put them on. I drove to Newcomb's once. This was back in February or January of this
Yeah.
year, and and when I drove up Newcomb's, I mean, I was a maniac on that. I mean, not that fast, but it felt like a rocket ship compared to what I was used to. I mean, just night and day.
Because you could
So,
hold
but I
this.
never
You
got
could
to use
hold your
them.
sidewall. You weren't drifting all over the place.
Oh yeah, it would. Yeah, it would be more forgiving on the turns. I could kind of be in a lot of different places on the turns, not just doing the perfect line.
Right.
And the weight. I mean, braking, turn in. Um, it was awesome. I I realized what a POS I've been driving with those big anchors.
Well,
So
I do agree with what you're saying, and fundamentally, it's impossible to not. I mean, on paper, it's heavier. But that La Tortuga is such a nice driving car. I can't really figure it out. It's maybe it's because of that weight and because of the weight on the roof and something about it. It's like if you could combine a
I think
really
it's
comfortable
because
chair and a 911.
it's stock. I mean, it's really fundamentally cars get changed so often. I drive these cars like that red one I drove with the 17-inch wheels, and it was really fun, but it didn't drive as nice as the Tortuga did. And I
Yeah.
think part of it is because it's just stock brakes, stock suspension.
That car
It's
was
not
really built.
crazy
That car you
modified.
brought. That red one.
Oh yeah, that car was really, really fun, but on longer drives, it wasn't as fun as just driving on the open highway. The 911, the green 911 was much easier to drive. So,
La Tortuga
but
was
still
really
fun.
easy on my back. I've got a bad back. Well, you've got a bad back too. We both have bad backs.
Yeah.
La
Yep.
Tortuga, it just kind of comfy. Just kind of comfy. Just
Yeah.
kind of holds you. Comfy.
When Juan, the seats were done by GTS, but then Juan, the upholstery guy, 2 doors down from me, I had him kind of take them apart and contour the foam. He put denser foam so it could be not as thick, but it was just supportive. And he basically cut it down, and I would sit in it until I got to where I liked it because I
So
like
you
to sit with
really
my butt
custom.
down low. Yeah.
That's why they're different then. I really thought it
Yeah.
was
And
just
then I've
those
also
seats.
and I've also put my ass in it for 150,000 miles or however many miles we put on it so far.
But maybe that's what I'm talking about, though. It's not. It doesn't feel like, how some, and you more than anybody, how some 911s you get in and either whatever, just date, age, they're not seated well. Some people's backs lean certain ways. Certain people, they all have a different kind of a break-in pattern. How's that?
Right. Well, we've rebuilt that seat already 3 times in the last 100,000 miles. I mean, in fact, right before I did this rally, I noticed that go to sit back, it would sometimes flop all the way back, which is unsettling. And so Juan took the seat out. He took it completely apart. We put new brackets on the side that would, now what's cool is when I lean forward, I just pull the handle and it moves forward. He also re-welded some of the brackets.
Wait, you mean like
the original
a spring? It doesn't...
Yep.
Oh,
there's
that's
a
nice.
spring, so when you pull the lever, the back will tilt forward, but it was not doing that anymore. And in fact, if you stepped on the gas, it would kind of drop 2 notches and tilt back further. Yeah,
Oh.
which is not a good thing.
You don't want that.
I actually had that. I remember we were selling. Have you ever taken apart E30 seat or 30 W 3 Series?
E30, yeah. I mean, I definitely did some investigative work on my car back in the day. I think I definitely had the seats out.
If you remember with those seats, they have 4 little mini, like hood shocks. Like picture the 911 hood shock. They've got 4 of them in there, which is to help it tilt or do something. And now they're 30, 40 years old, so they go bad. And especially since they sit in the same position, usually not moving. So a client dropped off an E30, this is like 4 or 5 years ago. And he left, and I decided I'm just going to go take it for a quick test drive, before we start cleaning it. And on one of the side streets, I made a left turn, and I barely got on the gas, and the seat completely flopped. So the back of the seat was on the rear seat, and I was looking at the headliner. And then I basically, there was a little island in the center, and I went right up the island, messed up the front little lower splitter spoiler, which is fiberglass, and we got that fixed. And then when we took I gave it to Juan, I was like, basically I couldn't get the seat to tilt back up. So when I drove back, I had to hold the steering wheel to pull myself up. And
oh my God.
And I basically got it in second gear, and just because it was hard to imagine trying to shift a car without having your back against anything. It's if you want to try it at home, it's really fun, but do it in an open parking lot. Take your seat, tilt it all the way back, and then try to drive around the parking lot with no backrest. Fundamental part of driving a stick shift. So it was a long. That was, of all the stupid things I've done in a car, going around a turn and then looking up at the headliner and knowing you're still moving forward was probably the most unsettling, even though I was only going about 15 miles an hour.
I'm with you. I can't imagine.
It was not good. And then,
I put that up there with the hood flying up. All the.
Oh yeah. I've had that happen too. That's and you're looking underneath on a 911. There's like a little part, and you're like looking underneath where the hood scallops up.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And you're like trying not to crash, and you're wondering how much this is going to cost to fix.
Did it really happen to you in a 911? A race car with hood pins, or why did it just unlatch?
It was a race car. It was a race car. A guy said, "Hey, why don't you just take it out and see, how it feels?" And I didn't go on the track. I was just in Cal Speedway in the parking lot, and I was just going up and down. Like literally within 30 seconds of driving it, it just flopped up, and it bent around the roof, broke the windshield.
And you gave the keys back. I don't like it.
I said, yeah. I said, it seems pretty nice, but the visibility, tough.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was his own error. It was definitely, he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't do that. So
was it just unlatched, or were the hood pins
Yeah. Well, it was a 911 that didn't have the latch, so it just had hood pins, and he didn't put the hood pins in. Like most 911s, if you don't have it closed all the way or it pops up, the latch still works to some degree. I mean, anyone who has an old 911, we've driven before where on a mountain road, when you're torquing the chassis, it just pops the hood open, but it stays down. This
I was just
didn't
going to
have
say
the
the same
latch
thing.
system.
I don't know how many times people with F bodies, the old long hoods, have come up to Newcombs and we go, "Hey, your hood's open." Like, geez,
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. It's like exactly like you
Yeah.
said, flexing.
Yeah. And it's just little adjustments. I mean, I think when I got the Tortuga, it was doing that. And I just had the little wrench, and I mean, a little crescent wrench and a screwdriver. And every time I stopped, I would just, adjust it again until it didn't do it.
You probably know this from experience as well, but 944 is notorious for the back window. The same thing, those two little knobby, nutty things. It always it either didn't shut, you'd have to slam it 5 times to get the thing to close and latch,
Yep.
or it would go down. They were too far, and it would, if you hit a bump or whatever, it would like load, and then it would launch it right up, and you're driving down the road, and the wind is keeping it down a little bit from going all the way open.
Yeah, I haven't had enough 944s, but we've had a couple over the years that did that.
Those
And
little plunger things. It's the same things that are on the hood in the
yeah,
front.
it's on the far corners, and
Yeah,
you can just sort of hand twist them down.
exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just stupid shit you do in cars. But going back to seats, I have found that more than suspension or tires or wheels, having a comfortable seat and a good steering wheel is half the battle or more. And it's not the most expensive thing. But I see people going crazy with suspension. And if you can just hold yourself in the car so you're comfortable but not moving around, and a steering wheel that kind of fits your, the ergonomics of your body and how you like to, being able to, in a position where you can get leverage on the steering wheel without using your shoulders but using your arms.
Right.
Just it's amazing to get rid of fatigue while driving.
Also, I think it's a great note. It's a really good note for a lot of people who spend money perhaps in the wrong places. A lot of times, too, you think, oh, the car's not capable. The car's slipping around. The car is actually fine and planted on the road. You're slipping around in the seat, and you're translating that thought to what you think is happening in the outside environment. If you are planted there, all of a sudden, the car is too.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just not moving in a seat, and you don't necessarily need harnesses either. Just a lot of times, if you get in the seat, especially with the newer ones, and you kind of really ratchet it so it's up snug against you,
Yeah,
right
a
before you're going
well-adjusted
on,
seat goes a long
Angeles
way too.
Crest.
A good driving position.
Yep.
What is your
Exactly.
preferred?
I get.
Do you like are you laid back? Are you forward? 10 and 2?
No, I'm
12 and
I'm
6?
kind
What
of
kind of guy are you?
I kind of drive like a T-Rex. I've got long torso, short legs.
Why
Yeah. And
aren't you
so,
seizing the boy?
I mean, if I could get steering wheels to come further forward, like I love extended hub. That's the problem with old 911s. You don't have any adjustment to the steering wheel, but when you can pull the steering wheel as close as you can, I mean, I like my elbows right at my body,
Yeah, I do too.
you know,
Like a
so
NASCAR
like
guy.
NASCAR.
Me too.
And I like when my left leg is fully extended on the clutch, I want like a 5-degree bend in the knee.
Yeah, I'm very
And
similar.
I almost like the back. Like, so when I'm driving on the freeway, I'll maybe have a 110-degree angle in the seat, a little bit of a obtuse
Which is
angle.
very upright for most people.
But when I get to Angeles Crest, I'm almost sitting 90 degrees. Like
I
the
love
the
that.
more I can use my hands instead of my whole arm to steer.
Yeah.
Because when you try to use your whole arm to steer, it's not as precise. But if you're using just your hands and your wrists and a little bit of your forearms.
I totally agree. I've heard this from a lot of people. Elbows up, elbows out. I'm like, that's the worst advice I've ever heard in my
No.
own type of driving. And this, for me, I grew up a drummer at a very early age, and you always wanted to have your wrist, your hands perpendicular to the ground, parallel to the ground like this. Whatever. Don't listen to me. I'm talking like crazy. Anyway, but you wanted to keep your elbows in, and there was a whole alignment to it for how to get the most precise precision. And I've just naturally applied that to, I'm sitting in the seat, and I'm going to keep that same kind of. It's for pool as well, same thing.
It's all
I
about
just find
leverage.
that's the most natural position for me to be the most alert in. and the most responsive end.
No, I agree. It's if you ever want to try to lift something up, and this is how to see the difference with leverage. If let's say you've got like a 5 pound weight sitting on the table, somewhere where you can keep your elbow against your side. Try lifting it up with your elbow out, and then try lifting it up with your elbow braced against the side of your body. And you
Oh,
realize that
interesting.
it's twice as easier. And it's the same thing when you're steering a car, especially a 911, where there's usually no power steering, and it's all about the feel. And and also you hit a rock, especially like when I'm going on the dirt stuff. You hit a rock, and if your elbows aren't next to you, it tends to want to pull the car. You sort of grab the whole steering wheel
Yeah.
and not be able to hold it so tight that it pulls it in a weird position. But I am naturally a lazy person, so anything that requires less energy, I gravitate towards. Like like when I was
To me,
in
that's an
college or
efficiency thing. It's more efficient to do it the way you're
yeah.
doing it. It's not lazy to do it. It's more efficient.
Well, I remember when I was in college, and one of I think it was my advisor, they noticed that I got minus grades, like A minus or B minus. And they're like, why do you always get minuses? I said, because a B minus is the same as a B plus, but the energy level to get a B minus is a lot less. So why would I put more energy out?
By that, you
You
mean
know,
it's in the same grade category as a B plus.
yeah,
Yeah,
it,
that's
it, it,
interesting.
it added no more value to
Oh
my
my
transcript
gosh.
to anything else.
Because he's a
So
B
why would
student.
I
What's the
go
difference?
exactly a B student?
Oh my god.
All that matters. So, and one of my math, and she was from Turkey. She's a sweet lady, and she said, and she was trying to say it. She had such a heavy accent. She's like, basically, she got the words out. You're ambitiously lazy, because she noticed I got a lot of A minuses, but never B pluses. And if I was not going to do well, it was down at the bottom. I would vie for a pass fail before I got to the.
I wish that we knew each other when I was, well, I guess when we both were younger. I feel like you and I were awfully similar. I used to have to, this is in middle school, I used to have to go to, I was so consistent with my lack of doing my homework it perplexed the teachers and the vice principal, who was the disciplinarian, to the point where they would have me. I had to do this. I was in a permanent detention program, and what that meant was like I would have to be in this vice principal's office or the conference room at Sutter office and sit there and do all my homework before I left school for the day. So like at 2:30 or whatever, the bell would ring and everybody else would go for the bus or go home or whatever. And I'd head to the principal's office where I was then made to, and she'd have all my assignments like from the teachers or whatever. And like, okay, make sure you do it. I was so not going to be beat by this fucking setup, Paul Kennel, excuse my language, that I started doing like the wrong assignments. I would still do work, but I was like, I'll show you. And then she'd check everything off. Okay, you did it. And then the next day in class, I wouldn't have my homework because I did something else or whatever. And then she'd get the report at the end of the day. She's like, I don't understand. You showed me the assignment. You did it. Why aren't you turning it in? She's pulling her hair out. It was ridiculous. I'm not trying to say it's exactly the same thing.
No, it's almost like this goal. You want to see her leaving one day in a straitjacket, going to an asylum.
It became the
doesn't
goal. Yeah,
understand.
I went
Yeah.
with that lady to visit someone in the hospital. I went with her to a dentist appointment once.
That's awesome. Yeah,
June Cammett was her
I think
name, by the way. My 7th grade or 8th grade disciplinarian, June Cammett, Vice Principal June Cammett. She drove it was a black Jag, 2-door, but the long one. Super cool.
Was this in middle school?
It was. They call it, would have been, junior high school, but middle school. It was like eighth. It would have 8th grade. So what am I, 13 and 8th grade?
It's funny because I was in 7th, 8th grade was junior high, and I remember.
Anyway, all right, we'll pick it up from here. And I just told my ridiculous, embarrassing story about middle school, and that led you to a story you were about to tell.
Oh, I was telling about my middle school vice principal, which it's weird how of all the different people in high school and elementary school and college, I remember mine as well. He was the disciplinarian. and he was a chemist that I guess in his younger years, he was already fairly old by then. In his younger years, he blew off most of his fingers on his hand in some experiment. Oh yeah,
Literally.
literally. So I can't remember, his name was Mr. Codner, but I think everyone called him Stubbs. And so he would get
Oh
mad
my
at you, and he would go to point a finger. It always looked like he wanted to fight you because he had like fists. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and imagine when you're 12 or whatever. I mean, he kind of, if you could picture this, he looked like Jaws from Spy Who Loved Me, James
Oh yeah,
Bond.
Richard Keel from
Yes,
Silver Streak for me, but Happy Gilmore for other people.
right. He was that kind of guy, really big, intimidating, and he would go to point his fingers at you, but he had just stubs that would, maybe be up like that much, and it's just as a kid, you had to go to his office, and you're like, oh shit. And yeah,
One
I
of
think I
the
went there.
Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I think I went there for um, getting in fights or other stupid things. And my mom would always be embarrassed because she was the PTA president, and it would always come back to her that you're the PTA president, but your son.
For me, well, first of all, my uncle, my dad's brother, I grew up, he had no middle finger because he worked at a printing press, and I don't know, somehow it
Oh,
taken off in the line of duty. And he was a cigarette smoker, so he always smoked like this, like it was between the middle. It was a weird visual. Anyway, so I grew up with that. And then my third grade teacher, she cut her pinky off in class with the paper cutter. That's all true.
while you
And
were
then,
there, while you were in class.
while people were, yeah, while the kids, yes, screaming out of the room, oh my God, like a whole thing. And then, of course, the pinky was on the paper cutter. Anyway,
Oh,
Mrs. Cook, shout out to Mrs. Cook. I doubt she's still alive, but she had no pinky. And but more recently, someone we both know. I've known this guy for a couple years. Probably the same with you. It wasn't until he was sitting right here on the show and then proclaimed to me that that's how he lost his fingers. Our friend Damon McCarthy is also without fingers. He's just always emphatic like this. I thought he was the coolest guy in the world. He just doesn't have these two fingers.
no way! I never
Damon
really
with the
thought about it.
74 ducktail and the white
Yeah,
Tesla,
yeah.
and he's got that Alpha as well. Many cars.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
And his is, I think it's his left hand, and his was an art his dad's a famous artist, Paul McCarthy, and there was an art installation, I think maybe in Russia, I can't remember, somewhere abroad, maybe Prague, I'm not sure. And there was a big installation with blades and spinning around and like a big machinery type thing. And he was literally telling people, now whatever you do, don't do this, and it happened. Literally, like,
Oh
don't do
shit!
this. Like, put your hand over here because it'll. And it happened right at that moment. And
Yeah.
he said one was hanging off and the other one was on the floor. And he just goes, look back at the same people he was just warning. He goes, get those, put that on ice, call them, have an ambulance meet me outside. It was just like boom, 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 right into save my hand
Wow.
mode.
Yeah, there's one of the local mechanics, Scott Henry, Scott's Independent, working, decade after decade on old 911s, and it was about 5 or 10 years ago, he cut off one of his fingers in the fan blade, doing
Oh,
something
and a
with a
fan
motor.
blade. Ooh.
Yeah, picture a 911 fan blade. They move pretty quick, and they're efficient at chopping fingers off. And I'm
And they're
just thinking
going the direction to force air in. So that's the way you don't want. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to still figure out whose motor that was because I'm wondering if there's still blood in the engine
I
bay.
don't think you could get it all out, right? I don't think
There's
no
no
matter how
way.
much hosing, you couldn't get it all out.
No,
You got to send
it
the
would go
CSI team
everywhere.
in there.
Yeah, exactly. So good gross tangent.
Speaking of tangents, it's probably time to think about wrapping it up, at least in a couple minutes. But I want to see how things are going. Because, our if you heard the beginning part, our buddy Tory isn't here. Politics are just getting in the way right now. He's in an area where things are very divided, and it's really weighing on him heavily. How are things in your
Is he in,
household? Speaking of
is he in
divided,
Pennsylvania? Oh yeah. Is he in Pennsylvania then?
he's
Where,
right
I
outside
forgot
of
where
Pittsburgh.
he
I
is.
think he's in that Allegheny County where they're still counting.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's tough because we're a divided family, but
Yeah.
I am excited. I think like a lot of people that we're so close to just maybe going back to normal, boring government. You
Oh
know?
yeah.
I mean, I've never been political. It's just never something that interests me. I found it boring. I went to a college that was heavily into government. In
Hmm.
fact, I've seen one of our professors I had when I was in college. It's at Claremont McKenna. He's always been on the news now with all the politics because they're big in government. And I've just been the point where I'm looking forward to it being over and just not part of our daily life anymore. It certainly has created stress
Yeah.
um, that I think need to be. Politics are important, but they should not be as important as they've been in the last 4 years, let alone. But I'd say the last 6 months has been just, I think, gross. I'm so over it for sure.
I'm over it
Back to
too.
normal.
I'm ready for everything about pre-2020. I'm ready to hug people again. I miss my friends. I miss, you know, life as it used to be. Being able to just kind of get in the car and go to your favorite restaurant or, you know, anything. There's so many
Yeah,
businesses that I'm going to want to go. People are going to want to go to, you know, when there isn't a COVID, and those businesses are going to be gone. I mean, it's so sad to me. I mean,
it's
I hate to do that whole thing. It's
no.
extrapolating. It all seems to translate to the same stuff, and I understand how Tory can get affected by it, but we all got to struggle to not.
Yeah, and I think especially where he lives, being that close to it. I mean, I'm in, and I that in politics, but it's hard to not get that involved, especially when mask wearing has become political, which I still don't really understand. But I want everyone to be healthy. I think if I know friends who have had family members that have died, but I don't know them well enough to know, and I'm just hoping that I can get past this without anyone that I immediately know dying from this, because I just think it'd be such a waste.
I mean, my grandfather died from it, but he was also old. I don't know if you count that, but I mean, technically, he died from COVID. He'd be still alive, probably, if not for it.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's also young people that we do. I mean, insular, like we know, second hand, we know that are
Yep.
gone, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
famous people. I'm just like, whoa, okay, all right, didn't realize. Okay, sure.
Yeah. And that's, I think, why I got more political than I've ever been, was just because I just want people to be healthy again. I mean, we have enough health issues going around to not have this be the focus.
Yeah.
And I like going to restaurants. I mean, we've eaten at one restaurant and it was indoors, and they were pretty good at keeping people spaced out. But I, it felt weird to wear a mask the whole time except for taking bites of food, and I'm like, this isn't what dining out is like anymore.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see if, when things get back to normal, like, is there like going to be a psychosis about being around people?
Of course.
And
There was
that's the part,
Nintendo
like,
thumb syndrome. This is going to be awful.
yeah,
Think about all the different things that they're going to have to. I mean, there'll be clinical diagnoses for this, right? There'll be PTSD from it, just like 9/11 and whatever else. I'm assuming.
Kids who are been at home. I mean, the young kids, ones that were like maybe would be in elementary and middle school, having no interaction. Our oldest daughter, she's a teacher. She came back from Oregon, and she's teaching for a private tutoring center where she has, I think, 5 or 6 kids that she's teaching in a classroom. Imagine a classroom that holds 30 people having 5 or 6 people. And I mean, it's a private system, so it's for the privileged. So those 5 or 6 kids can have somewhat of a normal education during this time. They have
Right.
recess, but still just not being able to interact with 30 kids, and only having 5 or 6. It's like living with roommates where you get on each other's nerves. So,
And there's no escape. I mean, at college or wherever, you go outside for a little bit if you need to get away. I mean, you can't really go anywhere.
yeah. And
You go
Our
walk
other
around the
daughter,
mall? I don't think so.
she's sitting there. That's Lauren.
Ah, hi.
Lauren is a sophomore at Lewis and Clark in Portland, and she took this semester off because everything was going online, and they did actually an amazing job. I think they had was it 4 cases? They had 4 cases at the beginning of the year. Yeah, they had, okay, one at the beginning and 3 later on. But for a college to only have 4 cases and then just lock it down, so your dorm became a little bit of like a jail. And if some of her friends were in the same dorm, so they got to be together, but the ones that weren't, were kind of separate. And that's sort of why Lawrence took the semester off. But she told me, she's going back next semester. She doesn't care if everything's going to be online. She just craves to be around her friends, even if they're locked in a dorm together.
Right. Well, plus they'll all be legally high on mushrooms and everything now, right? Because isn't Oregon, they've decriminalized drugs?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that? I'm not
No,
saying it's
I didn't.
related, just it's a hell of a story.
No, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. If someone's going to do it first, it would be Oregon.
Really? Are they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Oregon seems to be I mean, especially when you get to Portland and you go towards the coast, it's a
Just more
very
progressive.
progressive, liberal. I mean, what's amazing is when we go to Portland, I so rarely see police. I mean, there's the presence. I mean, until recently, I mean, that was shocking watching the news and seeing the police force, because we would drive around Portland,
Oh, the
go to
protests.
dinner,
Yeah.
do things. Yeah, but before the protests, just under normal times, I used to tell Jennifer, I'm like, this whole thing cops on the roads. And the other interesting thing is most of the drivers around there drive borderline slow to barely the speed limit. I mean, just
Is it the weather? They're all afraid to slip and slide, or what?
no, I think they're all stoned.
Oh, so it's already an issue anyway. That's why they just decriminalized it. Everyone's high already. I didn't realize. My aunt used to
Exactly.
live.
Yeah.
My aunt lived there forever, and she used to work for Nike. And I always thought it was like, I don't know. I guess I never visited her. I don't know what it was like.
No, I mean it. In a perfect world, if I could figure out how to move my business up to Oregon, especially if our kids ended up living up there, I would eventually go up there. I like the environment. I'm celiac, and they are really great about gluten-free eating.
Yes.
Everything
Health-wise,
up
I
there.
could definitely eat up
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
They got that voodoo donut thing too. That's going on up there. That's a big deal.
Yeah, unfortunately they don't have gluten-free donuts, but when I go into a lot of the restaurants, they have menus. They understand it. I mean, obviously, Lauren's vegetarian. It's just easy, like for all of us to go eat, and they have something for everyone. I like rain. I like wet weather. I like overcast.
Same here. I fit in with the climate there. I
Oh,
like it.
this last week felt like just a burden off my shoulder. Just cold weather and wear long sleeves and jackets and not be hot. I love this kind of weather. The only thing that sucks is if it rains on the weekend when there's people that won't drive. I don't care about driving in the rain, but
Same.
you and I are like that way. But I would say the majority of Southern California car enthusiasts don't care to drive in the rain.
Well, most people don't want to get their cars wet. You and I look at it as an opportunity to clean our cars.
Yeah, yeah. Someone texted me. They're like, "What are you doing? A hipster car wash?" I'm like, "I like that."
Like, yeah, of course. This is the whole idea of it. Like, nobody else wants their car to get dirty, and ours would be significantally cleaner afterwards. So it
Oh yeah,
makes
I
sense
go
why
through
we're fine with it.
I go through puddles. There's a chassis clean from my last off-road dirt.
Right.
Perfect.
Undercarriage bath. Paul Kennel, how are things at Auto-Kennel before we close up? I want to make sure we plug the company
thank
there,
you.
and then we got to talk about Sinclair Insurance and Hunziker Masks.
Yeah.
But
No,
how are things at Auto-Kennel?
it's been surprisingly good. We have 4 turbos, and we just sold 2 of them, and one of them is actually at auction with RM Auction.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually, I was thinking about it. I have 5 cars in our inventory that are turbocharged, which is unusual. We don't see a lot of them, and I'm a huge fan of 930s and turbos. So business has been surprisingly good. lots of interesting cars. I think the biggest thing is people. This is the one thing that really fits the what we're going through right now is to go drive. And even though I'm not doing formal rallies, there's still lots of opportunity to drive. And I would say this year I've probably driven total maybe 20,000 miles of different driving, when I look at all the different cars I've been driving. So
It's
heck, every Friday's a little over 200 miles round trip.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right, because you're 111 miles from Newcomb's.
111 miles. Exactly. Exactly.
I can't think of a better time than to discuss our mutual friend over at St. Clair Insurance. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Jeff St. Clair, close friend.
They say all that separates men from boys is the coverage for their toys. St. Clair Insurance has coverage for your toys. What kind of toys, Paul Kennel?
All of them.
You name a toy, they'll insure it for you. And if you already are an existing Hagerty customer or are thinking about becoming a Hagerty customer, if you don't have a rep, and you definitely want to get a rep if you're not a customer yet, check out coverageforyourtoys.com. Check out St. Clair Insurance and Jeff St. Clair. I have a feeling that you're going to like what you see. You can insure all your toys. Yeah. You can get all the coverage, which is obviously very important. But you're going to get a representative, a hands-on guy. You're going to get a friend in the industry who, God forbid, something does happen. You can call him up and say, hey, something happened. And he can get you on your way and get everything going for you with the insurance and all. I don't know why I'm wearing a Freddy glove for that, other than in case you, if you scratch your car or one of your toys, or this is a collectible. How about that? This is a collectible. Maybe this is a toy that could be insured by Hagerty, or maybe we just found the one thing that they won't insure. Movie collectibles. I don't know. I don't know. I think you can insure a house. You can insure a business. I think you could insure anything. So I'm going to say probably. But coverageforyourtoys.com.
He insures my watches.
You can do watches? You can do jewelry?
Yeah, he insures my watches. And actually, they do Garage Keepers insurance for our whole inventory.
No.
For everything
so it's
that we
one
drive.
Big umbrella.
Yeah, big umbrella. And we just look at the total amount. And if we get a very expensive car, we'll just quickly add a little more coverage until that car is gone. So I think for anyone who has, a lot of people now get wholesale licenses just because they have larger collections, and be able to have like a Garage Keepers policy, for vintage cars. They didn't used to do Garage Keepers insurance, and we had to use a traditional one. And when we had any kind of issue, it was always a hassle explaining to them why the car isn't in Blue Book or why Blue Book doesn't really pertain to that particular car. And then I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, Hagerty started doing Garage Keepers. And then for us, the towing alone, if you get a Hagerty insurance, you can buy the membership for, it's weird. I haven't figured out how much towing you get, but I've done several 100-mile tows in a year, which is more than you'll get with AAA.
Whoa.
And that's a big deal for me.
Yeah,
just
no
knowing
kidding.
That
I didn't realize that myself.
Somewhere. Yep, absolutely. And they'll do later model Porsches, that aren't necessarily daily drivers. So.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned from him, was pretty impressed with, that they will do anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be a collector car. You could insure your minivan with them theoretically, as long as it's not a daily driver. As long as you have some other vehicle, actually, is quite frankly what it is.
Yeah. You just have to have everything garaged in some other vehicle. Yeah.
St. Clair Insurance, coverageforyourtoys.com. Check them out. They put in a building just across the street there. They put their sign on it. I can see it from here, right across the way. Oh, my gosh. And then with that, I will tell you, although this is not a time to put this on my face at all, that was dangerous what I just did. Kids, don't try this at home. If you're in a part of the world where you should be wearing a mask, and I think that's still going on most places, if you see somebody who isn't wearing a mask and you want to say something to them, you're not afraid of starting a civil war at this point, you could say to them, hey, need a mask? ShopHunziker.com. That's what we did. ShopHunziker.com. Good stuff. And Paul Kramer over there at Autokennel, should definitely shop his site. Check out his Instagram, which is right here at Autokennel. You're, I don't want to say unaffected by COVID, but COVID has not been as cruel to you as it has been to others. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I feel fortunate, a little bit guilty. It was tough in March and April. I mean, we went from the worst in April, best May, June, September ever.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict. I'm just very grateful that we're have business and we're helping people, and
Absolutely.
I just keep hoping that people who buy these cars just come along for a drive. You know, you'll understand them a lot more.
Ugh. Paul Kramer at Autokennel, or as I like to say, Paul Kennel from Auto-Kramers.
Perfect.
which is something that I've gotten a hold of now, but now I do it because it makes me happy. But for the longest time, I truly couldn't do it. I know I wasn't making fun. I just
Someone the other day called me Paul Kennel. I mean, like, seriously thought it was Paul Kennel.
Well, wouldn't
Which
that
I
make
was like,
sense? That you would name the business Auto-Kennel? Like, oh, sure, that makes sense. It's his last name.
yeah, because no one's like, what does a kennel have to do with cars? And I'm like, no, it's Paul Kennel. I'll just legally change it.
Well, I don't mean to be intentionally spreading fake news.
No, I don't mind. Just a name.
I love you, buddy. Thanks for coming in and, like I said, pinch hitting. But thanks for being my friend. Thanks for loving Mrs. Ryan and me, and for being just awesome in general, being part of this community. And you do help people. You don't just sell cars, you help people. And I think that's probably why you're still busy during this time. People know the difference. So just keep it up. Keep it up. You're a really, really awesome dude, and we love you a lot.
I love you too. Thank you. Please see you Friday.
Yeah, see you Friday on your way to Willow Springs for sure. Everybody else, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Oh, Thursday's a great guest, by the way. Thursday, I should have been talking about this for weeks. Thursday, we've got Victoria Lily Schaefer. If that name doesn't mean much to you, she is a host, she is a producer, she is an author, she is an animal rights advocate. She is also talk show royalty. This is Paul Schaefer's daughter, Victoria Lily Schaefer. She lives here in Los Angeles now, and we're going to have her here on Thursday. And I'm really looking forward to it. So hope you tune in. Thank you very, very much to Paul Kennel Paul Kramer once again, and our love to Tory Alonso out there in Pittsburgh as well. And Mrs. Ryan, who's on assignment. You at home, we love you so much. See you Thursday with Victoria Lily, and Friday at Breakfast Club. Have a great one.
Yep.